Most kids shows give you monsters, magic, or mustache-twirling bad guys. This one gave you a villain who used money, lawyers, and power, and almost always won. He wasn't fantasy, he was real, and that's what made him unsettling. So grab your old DVDs, check the description for the link for the DVD, hit like, super thanks, and let's revisit the cartoons that should have had an ending, but never did. At number 1, Skeletor from He-Man.
Witless fools, do I have to do everything for you?
But why can't I join your gang?
'Cause you were a whip scientist and you could be a whip villain.
As a kid, Skeletor felt like noise. A skull-faced villain shouting threats, failing loudly, and retreating back to Snake Mountain. He was dramatic, colorful, and easy to dismiss. But watching He-Man again as an adult changes everything. Skeletor stops being funny and starts feeling disturbingly real. He isn't just evil for fun, he's obsessed with power in a way that feels desperate, personal, and deeply wounded, like someone trying to fill a hole that never closes. Skeletor's entire identity is built around control. Castle Grayskull isn't just a fortress to him, it's validation. If he can possess its secrets, then every failure, every rejection, every humiliation suddenly becomes justified. This obsession shows up in every version of the character, from the earliest mini-comics to the 2002 series and beyond. No matter the timeline, Skeletor cannot stop chasing ultimate authority, even when it repeatedly destroys his own plans. What makes him unsettling is how he treats the people around him. Skeletor constantly manipulates his allies through emotional pressure and gaslighting. When Beastman or Evil Lyn fails, Skeletor never admits his plan was flawed. Instead, he reframes reality.
Perhaps we should let this walking light bulb Aramesh do our dirty work for us.
What is your plan, Skeletor?
I shall bring this Aramesh here and make a deal with him.
He claims the failure was expected, that the minion misunderstood him, that the setback was part of something bigger. This keeps his followers confused and dependent, always questioning themselves instead of him. It's not just villainy, it's psychological control. This behavior connects directly to his narcissism. Skeletor cannot tolerate being beneath anyone. Not He-Man, not Hordak, not even the dark forces that empower him. In multiple continuities, he betrays his mentors the moment he believes he has outgrown them. In the UK comics, he conquers more than he's asked to, not out of strategy, but pride. One planet isn't enough. A solar system barely satisfies him. Power must always escalate. The most revealing detail about Skeletor is how often he lies about his own origin. Sometimes he claims to be a demon from another dimension, other times a being of pure evil. But again and again the truth surfaces. He was Keldor, a prince, a brother to King Randor, someone who once belonged. That history terrifies him. Skeletor works harder to hide Keldor than to defeat He-Man, because exposure would force him to confront what he lost. In the 2002 series, this becomes painfully clear. When Keldor's face is destroyed and he's reborn as Skeletor, the transformation isn't just physical, it's emotional avoidance. Becoming a monster allows him to escape shame. Later versions push this further. In some stories, Skeletor is restored to his human form and chooses to become Skeletor again. Being human means limits. Being Skeletor means never admitting weakness. Even his rivalry with He-Man feels less heroic and more intimate.
We have some unfinished business, Skeletor.
True, He-Man. And now is the time to finish it.
Skeletor doesn't just want He-Man dead, he wants him erased. Across timelines, he follows He-Man across dimensions and even into the far future. Eternia stops mattering. Power becomes secondary. What he really wants is to destroy the symbol of everything he failed to become. Behind the scenes, this depth wasn't accidental. Frank Langella's portrayal in the 1987 film treated Skeletor as a tragic tyrant, not a cartoon joke. Langella even rewrote dialogue to give him emotional weight. That performance permanently shifted how fans viewed the character. So the uncomfortable question remains: was Skeletor ever trying to win? Or was he trapped in an endless loop of self-sabotage? Because victory would mean facing the truth about himself. And if a villain built on insecurity, manipulation, and obsession already feels unsettling, the next one goes somewhere even darker. At number 2, Mumm-Ra from Thundercats.
1,000 years more, 5,000! You cannot defeat me, for I am Mumm-Ra! And wherever evil exists,
Mumm-Ra didn't need to shout to be terrifying. He whispered, chanted, and waited. As kids, we saw a scary mummy who turned into a monster. As adults, the imagery hits harder. Black pyramids, ancient statues, rituals, incantations. Mumm-Ra wasn't just a villain, he was a priest, and his powers came from belief, not strength. Every time Mumm-Ra transforms, the truth is spoken out loud. Ancient spirits of evil, transform this decayed form. Without worship, he's nothing. A corpse wrapped in bandages, trapped in a sarcophagus. His strength is borrowed. His immortality is conditional. The ancient spirits of evil don't serve him. He serves them eternally. This is what makes Mumm-Ra so disturbing. He represents blind devotion to power, even when that power clearly despises you. The spirits grant him magic, but they also control his limits. He cannot stay away from the Black Pyramid too long. He cannot exist independently. Even his failures are punished, not forgiven. Immortality becomes a cage. The cult symbolism is everywhere. When Mumm-Ra transforms, the statues of the ancient spirits reach down toward him, as if claiming ownership. He stands beneath them, arms raised, receiving power like a sacrament. As a child, it looked cool. As an adult, it looks like submission disguised as strength.
Mumm-Ra lives! Mumm-Ra lives!
One of the most telling details is Mumm-Ra's fear of his own reflection. It isn't about vanity, it's about recognition. Seeing himself reminds him that he's not a god, not a ruler, not even free. He is a servant pretending to be divine. When the spirits later remove this weakness, it isn't kindness, it's efficiency. They strip away doubt so he can serve without hesitation. Later comics make this even darker. Before he was Mumm-Ra, he was Wahonk, a trusted advisor who hid ambition behind loyalty. He didn't reject religion, he weaponized it. He promised to rule humbly in the spirit's name, a lie repeated throughout history by those seeking absolute power. When he fails and is sealed away, he isn't redeemed. He is ordered to worship for centuries to earn another chance. Even Mumm-Ra's stronger forms reveal the truth. When he becomes Mumm-Ra, the all-powerful, his voice changes, his body grows larger, his identity fades. He isn't ascending, he's being overwritten.
Those soft-hearted fools will never be able to resist a frail and elderly Bolton.
The spirits are speaking through him, using him as a vessel. His compassion for Mammut only reinforces this. He can care, but only within hierarchy. Love exists, but it's possessive and conditional. Everything in Mumm-Ra's world has a place, and he sits beneath something greater, even if he pretends otherwise. Fun detail many fans missed: Mumm-Ra never truly dies. Every defeat sends him back to his sarcophagus, where he waits. Evil doesn't end, it sleeps. That line, "Wherever evil exists, Mumm-Ra lives," isn't a threat, it's a warning. So here's the final question. Is Mumm-Ra the villain? Or is he proof of what happens when fear of death and hunger for meaning are handed to something that promises certainty? Which was scarier growing up? The villain who wanted to control everything? Or the one who gave himself away completely? Argue it in the comments, because these weren't just kids' cartoons. They were secrets hiding in plain sight. At number 3, David Xanatos from Gargoyles.
It's my first real stab at cliched villainy. How am I doing?
David Xanatos is the kind of villain you don't notice as a child and can't stop thinking about as an adult. He doesn't wear armor, cast spells, or threaten to destroy the world for fun. He wears tailored suits, smiles politely, and speaks in calm, measured sentences. In Gargoyles, a show filled with magic, monsters, and myth, Xanatos stands out because he doesn't need any of that. His power comes from money, planning, and influence. That realism is exactly why he hits adults so hard. Xanatos is the founder and CEO of Xanatos Enterprises, a multinational corporation with interests in technology, media, genetics, and weapons. From the outside, he looks like a success story. Self-made billionaire, visionary innovator, philanthropic patron of the arts. But beneath that image is a man who treats the world like a chessboard and everyone on it as a potential piece. He doesn't destroy things recklessly. He acquires them, repurposes them, and discards them when they stop being useful. What makes Xanatos terrifying is how early his manipulation begins. As a boy from Maine, the son of a fisherman, he receives an ancient Scottish coin from the Illuminati. He sells it, invests it wisely, and builds an empire. His father believes this proves the success wasn't earned, and that judgment haunts Xanatos for life.
I am sorry things turned out this way. We'd all be happier if you had remained in the dark, but I can't let you damage Anton. He's a bit of a bother, but his mind represents infinite possibilities.
Years later, it's revealed that Xanatos himself traveled back in time using the Phoenix Gate and arranged for the coin to be sent to his younger self. He literally engineered his own origin story. The ultimate act of control wasn't taking power, but ensuring that power was inevitable. This obsession with control defines everything he does. When Xanatos learns about Castle Wyvern and the Gargoyles, he doesn't fear them. He doesn't hate them. He buys their home, relocates it stone by stone to the top of his skyscraper, and uses it to break their curse. Even their freedom places them in his debt. When Goliath threatens him physically, dangling him over the edge of a building, Xanatos doesn't panic. He calmly points out that no matter what happens to him, the Gargoyles owe their awakening to his actions. He wins even while losing. That mindset became so iconic it earned a name, the Xanatos Gambit, a plan designed so that every possible outcome benefits its creator. If Xanatos succeeds, he gains power. If he fails, he gains knowledge, leverage, or future advantage. He openly admits this philosophy. Revenge is inefficient. Grudges are pointless. Emotion clouds judgment. Everything is an investment. Even defeat has value. Unlike most cartoon villains, Xanatos doesn't rely on prejudice or cruelty. He exploits humans and gargoyles equally. He never mocks the gargoyles' appearance, never dismisses them as monsters. To him, they're assets, variables, opportunities. This makes him more unsettling than villains driven by hatred, because there's nothing personal to fight against. He can't appeal to his morals, because he doesn't see himself as immoral. He sees himself as practical.
She wanted me to destroy humanity. I think I'll start with you.
Go ahead. Without me, you'd still be gathering moss.
Xanatos' psychological warfare is subtle and relentless. He pretends to befriend the gargoyles, earning their trust, while sending them to steal technology for him. When they outlive their usefulness, he replaces them with the Steel Clan, robotic gargoyles designed to obey without question. When that plan fails and lands him in prison, he continues testing them from behind bars. Prison isn't a setback, it's a new position. His obsession with immortality reveals his one true fear. Death is the only variable he can't fully control. This drives his pursuit of magic, cloning, cybernetics, and alliances with supernatural forces. He despises death not because it's painful, but because it's unpredictable. Yet, paradoxically, Xanatos appears fearless. He walks into danger with a calm amusement that unnerves allies and enemies alike. It's not bravery, it's preparation. Xanatos' relationships are where his villainy becomes most human. He marries Fox because it makes sense. Genetic compatibility, shared interests, mutual ambition. Love framed as efficiency. When he gives her the Eye of Odin as an engagement gift and watches her transform into a monster, his reaction isn't rage or denial. It's horror at his own miscalculation. For once, his planning fails. When Goliath tells him that only he would see love as a weakness, Xanatos has no response. It's one of the few times the mask slips. Fatherhood begins to change him, but never completely redeems him. His affection for his son Alexander is genuine, and when Goliath saves the child, Xanatos honors the debt. He's capable of growth, but only when forced to confront consequences he can't spin. Even then, he never stops planning. He simply adjusts his priorities. David Xanatos is the most realistic villain ever put in a kid's cartoon because he doesn't feel like a villain at all. He feels like someone you'd see on a business magazine cover, someone praised for ambition, intelligence, and vision, someone whose damage is invisible until it's too late. That's why he lingers. Monsters can be defeated, sorcerers can be sealed away, but a man who profits from every outcome never really loses. At number 4, Anti-Captain Planet villains.
You can run, Planeteers, but you can't hide. Not from Captain Pollution!
This is where Captain Planet stops feeling like a kid's cartoon and starts feeling uncomfortable. The Anti-Captain Planet villains are not monsters from fantasy or demons from mythology. They're executives, scientists, and businessmen who knowingly destroy the world for profit. They pollute rivers, poison cities, and wipe out ecosystems without hesitation. As a child, the message feels simple: pollution bad, heroes good. As an adult, the subtext is chilling. These villains mirror real industries that calculate damage, accept casualties, and continue anyway. Captain Pollution embodies this idea in its purest form. He's not chaos for chaos's sake. He's a reflection of Captain Planet, twisted by greed and filth. Same voice, same silhouette, same power source, only corrupted. His pale yellow skin, cracked emblem, and deceased appearance are visual metaphors made literal. He grows stronger when disasters happen. Oil spills feed him. Smog empowers him. Toxic waste restores him. Destruction is not collateral damage, it's fuel. Unlike traditional villains, Captain Pollution is created intentionally by people in power. Dr. Blight and the other eco-villains do not lose control of him. They summon him because pollution benefits them. When he first appears, he treats their destruction as a game. He calls it Kill the Planet, not as a joke, but as a strategy. He derails toxic trains, ignites oil fields, and tries to melt the polar ice caps because each catastrophe makes him larger. Profit and power literally scale with damage. What makes this darker is that Captain Pollution is not independent. He exists because executives choose him. When he weakens, he returns to the rings like a spent weapon, waiting to be reactivated. This mirrors how corporations discard projects, deny responsibility, and restart under new branding. Even his weakness is symbolic. Clean water, sunlight, fresh air, and hope harm him. Accountability hurts him. Transparency weakens him. When the Planeteers strip pollution from Captain Planet, it feels less like magic and more like remediation.
I know you need pollution, and I'm just the guy to give it to you. What are you talking about, fool? The pure elements of the earth. I'm gonna give you a taste of every single one.
The eco-villains behind Captain Pollution are even more disturbing than the clone himself. These are not madmen acting alone. They are waste executives, arms dealers, polluters, and profiteers who understand the damage they cause. Loot and plunder cuts forests knowing animals will die. Sly Sludge dumps waste knowing communities will suffer. Duke Nukem radiates entire regions and calls it progress. None of them deny reality. They accept it and monetize it. Lives are expensive. Nature is inventory. The show barely softens this message. Captain Pollution is voiced by the same actor as Captain Planet, reinforcing that salvation and destruction use the same tools. Power itself is neutral. Control determines the outcome. In later comics, Captain Pollution becomes a form taken by Lucian Plunder, whose rings represent radiation, heavy metals, acid, pathogens, and hate. Hate is listed as a pollutant. That single choice reframes the entire series. Environmental collapse is not only chemical, it's ideological. Captain Pollution's final defeat is also unusually grim for a children's show. He's not redeemed or imprisoned. He's lured into a magma chamber and destroyed permanently. The show quietly suggests that some systems cannot be fixed. They must be ended. Pollution, when left unchecked, does not reform itself. It escalates until collapse. This is a heavy message to give children, but it's delivered without apology. The power fantasy is removed. Responsibility remains. What truly separates these villains from others is their willingness to sacrifice lives without hesitation. Entire towns, species, and generations are acceptable losses. Captain Pollution laughs while committing ecological mass murder because it serves a purpose. That purpose is growth.
Ready to fight, my filthy one?
Let me at 'em! I can't wait to get my grimy hands on those planet punks!
He's ready.
This mirrors real-world logic where disasters are framed as opportunities, regulations as obstacles, and victims as statistics. The show does not hide this parallel, it puts a face on it. A smiling, toxic god born from boardroom decisions. That's why the anti-Captain Planet villains feel darker now than they ever did before. They were never meant to be exaggerated. They were simplified. The show stripped away complexity to reveal intent. These characters destroy the planet not because they're insane, but because it pays. Captain Pollution is not the cause, he's the outcome. When greed, apathy, and hatred combine, something monstrous emerges, wearing the same face as a hero. Captain Planet ends every episode by telling viewers that the power is theirs. Captain Pollution exists to show what happens when that power is handed to the wrong people. It's a warning disguised as entertainment, aimed directly at the future. Long after the episodes end, the lessons remain. Environmental collapse is not an accident. It's a decision made repeatedly by those who benefit. Captain Pollution laughs because he is honest. He never pretends to care. The real horror is how familiar that feels. That familiarity is what makes these villains unforgettable. They were teaching children to recognize patterns adults still ignore. Captain Planet was not subtle, and that was the point. This was not fantasy, it was preparation. And decades later, that warning feels less like fiction and more like prophecy. The power is yours, the show said. Captain Pollution proved how easily it can be abused. That truth is why these villains still matter. They were never imaginary, they were warnings. We just grew old enough to understand them. In the end, the scariest part wasn't the battles or the explosions. It was that the villain never disappeared. He adapted, he paid fines, he walked away richer and smarter, exactly like the real world teaches you. That's why he stayed with us long after the credits rolled, because he wasn't defeated, just delayed. So dust off those old DVDs, check the description for the DVD link, tap like, hit super thanks, and let's go back to that cartoon that felt unfinished, because maybe it was never meant to end. Hey, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.